Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to another installment in reviewing these Hammer films from that 20-disc set that I'm reviewing. Here we have film number 3, which is called These Are the Damned from 1961. Like the others in the set, I went into this one fresh, not even looking up a synopsis. But as for that synopsis, it's a pretty basic one. Here it is. It states, an American tourist, a youth gang leader, and his troubled sister find themselves trapped in a top-secret government facility experimenting on children. So yes, very basic one there, but very accurate. I mean, personally, I was a bit lost as to where they were going with the story initially, showing the American spending time with a woman who's basically bait for this gang to rob the American. Little bits about this scientist and an artist who he was introduced to after this attack happened, and then we just kind of followed the gang around for a little bit, eventually reconnecting the woman and the American. So eventually, while on the run from the gang, they end up at this research facility where they are taken in by some kids who feel like ice cold and comment on how warm these adults feel. So already we know there's something kind of odd about these kids there. Now, without going into too much spoilers on this one worked well for me in that once I got past that first 20 to 30 minutes or so, being introduced to our characters in a situation that they find themselves in, the mystery is what had me kind of pulled into this. I wanted to know first, where the heck they were going with this. And then after those first 20 or 30 minutes, I wanted to know more about what is happening at this research facility, see if I could figure out what's happening there. Who are those kids? What are these experiments that are happening there, and so on. So this one definitely kept me entertained the entire way through because I just wanted to see how that all unfolded. And it's got a very tight 95-minute running time as well. But there are a few things to point out. First, it's in black and white. Some people really have a problem with that. Personally, I didn't, especially when it's, on Blu-ray and the black and white's really been cleaned up a lot, where it's at least very clear, not some old grainy transfer, which from what I understand for this film, it was hard to even track down for years. They also take a while to kind of get into the meat of the story. They really take that first 20 to 30 minutes to really set anything in motion, and it seems like it's kind of going nowhere for a while. Also, it's not really horror, I would say. I went into this with more of a horror expectation to actually be frightened, something horrific happening. But I see this leaning a lot more on sci-fi, as well as, specifically it's got some interesting social commentary about, like, it's definitely trying to address things with nuclear power and nuclear weapons. And so this really moves easily into that realm of the atomic panic kind of films that were made at the time, throughout the 50s and 60s. But I will say it was nice seeing Oliver Reed. He's pretty much the only actor who I recognized in this. And I only really know him from Gladiator, which I believe was his last film, and they had to do some digital magic to keep him in it because he passed away while filming it, from what I understand. But yeah, it's I like to see this, going down that sci-fi road, to give me something a little bit different, something very strange to try to figure out. And there's still this level of creepiness that still happens in the movie, in that it doesn't have this nice rosy ending all wrapped up and tied up with a nice little bow at the end. In fact, we're left by the end of the film hearing the sounds of kids locked away screaming for help. So it mixes that sci-fi atomic panic feel, that kind of realm, into a touch of that horror on top, imagining what's going to happen down the line for these kids or what's going to happen down the line in the world in general if the plans for these kids, really come to fruition. But honestly, the only real negative thing I could find to say about this was that it was taking a bit too long to kind of get going. They went a bit complex with how they were introducing some of these characters and how they ended up at this research facility. They probably could have found an easier and more straightforward way to kind of give us our character set, get them to their location, put them in that problem, and then see how they're going to resolve it. But that was it. Besides that, I got nothing. I actually enjoyed this one. I felt it was worth checking out. And as usual, speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out this little video on this series. Feel free to check out the back catalog, especially some of the ones I've been doing for these Hammer films. Have been very interesting, nice little short videos. And if you enjoy them, give them a thumbs up. Consider both subscribing and hitting that little bell icon to get any notifications for when I put some new content up. And don't forget to share this around because it really does help the channel quite a bit. And anyways, I hope you enjoyed this little entry in the series, and I will see you in the next one.